Hi, I'm James Van Ostel. This is Car Con Carne, recording on Clark Street in Andersonville. It is ridiculously nice out. It's 54 degrees in February. Nothing makes sense anymore, but what does make sense, Car Con Carne, brought to you by Suburban Roofing and Siding, which is a family-owned company serving the Chicagoland area. Now, I want to appeal directly to you, the Chicago or suburban Chicago-based homeowner. When was the last time you thought about your roof? A new roof can add up to 7% to your property value, and it also has a huge impact on your energy bills. You can trust Suburban Roofing and Siding. It's a family-owned company that serves Cook, Lake, McHenry, Kane, and DuPage. They have more than 40 years of collective experience, and they warrant their workmanship for a lifetime as long as you own the home. They have premium shingles backed with a full 20-year non-prorated transferable manufacturer warranty. Not to mention, it's a green product. Call my friends at Suburban Roofing and Siding, 224-677-6149, 224-677-6149, or just visit them on the web, suburbanroofingandsiding.com. Car Con Carne also brought to you by a book. Yeah, it's nice out right now, but sooner than later, you're going to be stuck at home, maybe snowbound, coldbound, in search of something good to read. I would like to recommend this book, written by Andy Fry, 90 Days in the 90s. Like I said, I'm sitting here on Clark Street. I'm in Andersonville. This book is all about Chicago culture, Chicago lifestyle, specifically Chicago in the 90s. That's what the protagonist, the lead character, Darby, does. She goes back in time to Chicago in the 90s. Lots of great memories, lots of great things happening. The music scene was on fire. It still is, but we all remember the Chicago 90s scene as being almost like Camelot. Check this book out if you're a fan of music, if you're a fan of Chicago, if you're a fan of just having good things to read. 90 Days in the 90s, you can get a copy. You can get a copy signed at 90daysintheNineties.com, or just buy a normal copy on Amazon.com. To my right, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, he is a guitar monster. He's a punk pioneer. He's a founding member of Richard Hell and the Voidoids. He's played with bands and artists we love like The Clash, Matthew Sweet and Shriekback. He has a new album called Swing Your Lanterns, which is out on Pravda. He is Ivan Julian.
Hello.
So we're recording this right after you did an in-store at Rattleback here in Chicago.
Yeah, which was fun. This is taking it to another place which I've never been to. I'm loving this. You know.
Wait, that wasn't your first in-store.
No, this is my first in-car interview
right.
with with a ring light and everything. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just
I know
out of.
You never forget your first car.
I'm out of my
podcast.
element. I guess finally.
Dude, you're a pioneer. You've done it all already.
I haven't done this.
Nothing should faze you at this point in your career.
It doesn't faze me, but I've never done this, so I'm enjoying it. That's all. I'm just enjoying it.
So the first thing I want to ask you, when it comes to headlines relating to you over the past several years, so much of them have been about your health over the past several years.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad. Yeah.
How are you feeling?
I'm feeling great. Doctor says I'm great, and hopefully I can keep on, like that. The health thing was most definitely a scare, and it gave me a new lease on life and helped me realize some things. I mean, it gave me a revelation, so to speak, as it does for most people when you come that close to the edge. Yeah, but now I'm fine.
How much of that informed the songwriting for the album?
Well, some of the songs were already written. What it did do, and some of the songs, it did affect, not just my current situation, but the current situation we all found ourselves in over the past 2 or 3 years or so, And it gave me a sense of immediacy, of urgency, of having to make this record, having to get these songs finished and recorded, as opposed to just having them sit on a shelf or something.
Misolation was good for no one.
It's good for writers. It is good for writers because, at that point, it might not be good for your mental health, so to speak, maybe, but if you're a writer or you have something to create, you have absolutely no excuse not to finish it. There's just no excuse. It's like, okay, you don't have time. What? You have all day. There's nowhere to go and there's nothing to do, finish it. Yeah.
One of the first songs you played in this in-store, and I should mention, you're playing Space. If you're watching this before Wednesday in the Chicago suburban area, you're playing Space in Evanston on Wednesday night. So
exactly.
One of the first songs I saw you play today was I Am Not a Drone, which is on the new album.
Mm-hmm.
The songwriting perspective going into this, tell me where this came from, because it seems like it came from a couple different places.
I'm Not a Drone, or
yeah.
just...
I'm Not a Drone.
That was inspired. It's kind of a dystopian view of the world. I mean, it was inspired by a lot of things. I mean, what mainly inspired it was I was in the East Village, and it was a hot, sweltering day. I mean, and I was on top of this tenement building looking down at the men's shelter, and they were half clothed, and it was just hot, and I mean, they had nowhere to go, and I just got this view of the world that was kind of beyond apocalyptic, just dystopian, and then that combined with a movie called Rollerball.
A classic.
A classic, okay. And this is even on YouTube. There's a scene in Rollerball where the elitists are using flamethrowers and blowing up trees. So that kind of gave me this vision as well of like what we're going through with the climate and everything, and just and I put all these thoughts together and wrote the song. I mean, from the perspective of someone who's just like, you know, observing all this going on.
Sonically, this album goes to some interesting places. I hear almost a New Orleans vibe in places, and a soulfulness, and there's bluesiness.
Yeah.
And then there's that grit I think we'd come to expect from your music.
Well, yeah, because I grew up in an era where music was music. And I mean, and especially on a radio station, you would hear all different genres, so to speak, of music. I mean, all on one station, and you learn to appreciate all of them. And the albums were made like that as well. And I like making albums all not of the same ilk. I mean, with songs not of the same ilk. I like it, not just to be diverse, because you can take it too far too. You know, where you go somewhere and it just sounds completely different than what, you know, the rooms in the house are telling you, and as an album is. I mean, it's just, yeah. So I like to just, if a song fits on a record, I'm going to do it. And I don't know until the last moment. I mean, for instance, we were just talking about I Am Not a Drone Alone. Keith was playing shaker on that, and that's what I was listening to the other day. I went, wow, without that shaker, it wouldn't be what it was.
It's interesting.
You know, it's like, so then that takes it to another place, which fits into the other the other songs as well, and helps the album flow from, you know, one story to another.
The coolest groove on the album is on Wild, I think. There's a great groove on that song.
Oh, Wild, yeah. Yeah, that's just, you know, I wanted a great, you know, just a telly sounding, you know, riff. I just came up with this riff. You know what inspired that? Okay, can I say this? Yeah. Way back in the day, okay, when Prince Charles was actually courting Camilla, and it came out that they were having an affair and all that. And unfortunately, the poor guy, his love letters got out into the press. And unfortunately, they got out to the English press, which is never a good thing, you know? No. And one of his quotes was, "In the next life, I want to be your panties." And that just stuck with me. And I thought, wow, how much in love would you have to be, I mean, to even come up with a phrase like that? So I kind of revolved the song around things like that. In the next life, I want to be your panties.
You played Love Is Good today.
Yeah.
Great backup vocals on that one. Mm-hmm. And that lead guitar is ferocious on that song.
Thank you. I'm proud of that, because whenever I take solos, I try to make it unique to the song and not at all generic. Mm-hmm. And I can't say I struggled with that one, but it had to just meet this certain kind of swagger, this certain off-tempo thing, rather than just be like a blues solo. And it just came to me, which kind of think it really complements the song.
Tell Me Lies, another song you played, different from what I just saw on the album. Am I hearing a classical guitar on that, or is that just straight up acoustic guitar?
Two acoustics.
You got a cool sound out of them.
I love getting cool sounds out of acoustic guitars in my studio. I mean, it's why I have, you know, so many great mics and acoustic guitars, because nothing to me I get that from actually the sound of Beggar's Banquet and Let It Bleed. Those albums, the acoustic guitars on those albums sound amazing. You know, it's a Gibson with a really deep, rich wood sound, you know, so I try to replicate that whenever I can. And then also, Al Maddie plays the other acoustic guitar on that. And Al Maddie is another guy from Chicago. See, my whole world is based in Chicago, even though I don't live here. Yeah, I mean, he was in a band. What were they called? Band. Yeah, I mean, someone just pressed up the vinyl of this album that he made way back in the 70s. You know, and I mean, it was a punk band from Chicago. Yeah. So, but Al has played with Joey Ramone. He's played with lots of people, and he's like amazing guitar player. So he's the other guitar player on that.
Again, the album is Swing Your Lanterns. It's on Pravda. The title track is a positive song, yes?
It's more, yeah, no, it's kind of a rally, a political rally. I mean, to kind of stand up for yourself and when things are kind of going awry. I mean, but it is positive. It's like, believe, stand up. But yeah,
one of the many things I love about you, you're a student, you're a fan of music.
I love music.
You love music. Do you have a cool record collection?
I do. I mean, I do. I mean, it's I've moved several times, so I some things I had to kind of not several times. I mean, I moved once, and I realized I had like 2 walls full of records and I couldn't take them all. But yeah, I do. I mean, anything in particular you're interested in?
No, I music fans kind of like admire each other's collections. That's how we communicate.
Yeah, I would never give up my vinyl collection. I mean, I never bought it when people said, "Oh, vinyl's gone and everything's going to go over to CDs," because vinyl does sound different. And the whole thing of interacting, with the with your entertainment, and like going over and putting the record on and keeping it pristine and turning it over. I have a fairly big record collection. The other day, I was listening to the Crystals actually, which I hadn't heard in such a long time on vinyl. And another record called John Lee Hooker's Greatest Hits from like 1951. Yeah, and it's all of his great songs are on there without him being accompanied by a band or anything like that. It's just all him just playing guitar in his room, tapping his foot. It's like so amazing.
And that voice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I met him once. I mean, it was really almost intimidating. I never met, he was in his 80s and he was in a wheelchair. And at the NAMM show when I met him, and I had him sign my record and my guitar and everything else I could find, because I love him. And I've never met anyone with so much incredible sexual charisma, if you know what I mean. It's like all the women in the room were just flocking to him, and he just had this thing about him, this kind of like, I don't know, weird power. It was kind of hard to explain.
Well, again, I think all those archetypal bluesmen are like that. One of my favorite thoughts along those lines, there's that great footage of Muddy Waters playing the Checkerboard Lounge in Chicago when the Rolling Stones came up on stage.
I've seen that.
Great moment.
Yeah.
Any other night, any other year, the Rolling Stones are going to be the coolest people in the room. When Muddy was on stage, Mick Jagger looked silly, because Muddy just is all charisma without even moving.
I saw that and realized that too. I thought, yeah, this is really strange, because you're right. I mean, and they're at the height of their career. They're all beautiful and beautifully dressed and everything, but like Muddy's just there, like to taking up everything. He's just like got it.
And isn't that the definition of cool? Not trying to be cool.
Yeah, I think. I mean, I think I don't really know what cool is, but I know like. Anybody that's trying isn't. I know that much.
So again, Space on Wednesday. If you're watching this, we're recording this. I don't even know the date. Time is a concept. It's the Sunday before you're playing Space in Evanston. If you're watching or listening before then, go see this man. The Voidoids were the first band to play CBGB. Is that right?
Oh, I don't know. No, that's impossible. No, we were not. I mean, Hilly. The deal was okay. Hilly slowly opened the club up to artists, or actually poets, that wanted to do their poetry and then have musicians play behind them. That's how the whole thing started. But there were musicians playing there long before the Voidoids started, even though we were there pretty much at the seminal moments, because there was a very small stage when we played there our first gig, and there was a pool table off to the side. Because most of the bands then wanted to play Max's Kansas City because it was a proper rock venue, and Richard wanted no part of that. Richard wanted to play this place where Hilly, the owner, would let him play, him and Patty Smith as well. It was more bohemian, for lack of better words, than the other clubs. So that's where we started playing. But now, I don't know if we were the first. I'm pretty sure we weren't. I mean, because I saw bands there before we played there, so I know we weren't.
Could you have known? Did you know back then? Could you feel what was going on?
Yes.
Really? You could feel at that moment it was happening?
I mean, maybe not for our bands per se, but as a scene, yes. Because, I mean, if you read about New York scenes, and even Chicago scenes, the blues scene here that happens, where all these people come from, all parts of America and all parts of the South to Chicago to play and end up making this historical music at this one point in time. And the same thing happened there. People came from all over the country to play their original music because they couldn't play it anywhere else. I mean, no other clubs in America would let you play your own songs or anything, or so that, I mean, and we all gravitated there. And I even had a shirt back then called Animals. It was bad, teenage poetry, but Animals Thrown Together by Fate. Because I just thought, like, I looked at the room and I thought, like, all these people have come here from everywhere: Ohio, Chicago, Missouri, Kentucky. I'd even come from Europe. I mean, not that I'm not from there, but I'd heard about this place and I just dropped what I was doing and came from Europe to kind of find a band there.
Was it a competitive scene?
No, yes and no. I mean, I think there was a lot more, kind of, male swagger going on than there was actual artistic competitiveness. I mean, because we all went and saw each other play on nights we didn't play. That was the beauty of the whole place, is that you could go on a Tuesday night and see the Talking Heads. You could go on a Thursday and see the Ramones, and most of us would go to see each other play, to see what we were up to, to kind of exchange ideas and stuff like that. So it wasn't so much competitive, except for, like I said, if someone wanted to have the same girlfriend or boyfriend or something. Yeah.
See, and you are a lifeline to a point in time that a lot of us never got to experience, myself included. When I think about that New York scene, what is fascinating to me is how different everybody sounded. Patti Smith sounded different from Talking Heads, sounded different from Television, sounded different from Ramones, sounded different from Richard Hell and the Voidoids. Like, everyone kind of had their it.
Yeah. I mean, and that was the other beauty of it as well. I mean, is that, there was no one style of music, so you never knew what you were going to get. And that's why when people try to put this umbrella over, the punk rock scene, it's impossible. I mean, because it was just people that were trying to play their original music. I mean, musically, what does Blondie have in common with Television? Nothing.
Good players. That's it.
Yeah, nothing. But musically, it's completely different. But then again, everybody was pulled together at the scene in order to play.
So, you as a solo artist, the new album is fantastic. Swing Your Lanterns, again on Pravda. As mentioned, nice diversity of sounds and approaches. It's just a cool sounding album. Great band, great songwriting. We can see you at Space, and if you miss Ivan Julian at Space, just listen to the album. It's awesome. I really appreciate you doing this.
Thank you very much, and I'm enjoying your setup here. This is one of the more elaborate studios I've seen in my life.
That's saying something coming from you. Thanks.